Shout out to Bring Our Q, Julius, you legend. We're going to do a joint interview, yeah? Yeah, we'll do a joint interview, Julius. Thanks for the support. You're a legend. From your girls, Raven and Ellie.
Welcome to the motherfucking relay. We're covering today's top boxing news. Ow!
Okay, we'll start with this. It appears that the undercard for the upcoming Regis Prograis versus Jose Zepada WBC super lightweight title fight, it appears that the undercard for that fight is almost set. And reigning unified minimum weight champion of Costa Rica, Yokasta Valle, looks to be making her ring return. Her fourth ring appearance this year. Very few fighters, even fewer champions the last 2 years, have been as prolific, as active as Costa Rica's own Yokasta Valle, who put on a career-best performance in her last fight, the unification match with then unbeaten champion of Vietnam. Yokasta Valle proved to be too much for the then unbeaten Thi Nguyen. Yokasta, who is co-promoted by both Golden Boy Promotions and Marv Nation Promotions. Marv Nation, they took everybody by surprise when they placed the winning bid for the Regis Prograis versus Jose Zepada WBC title fight for the newly vacated WBC title. A whopping $2.4 million. That was the winning bid. The winning bid that Marv Nation put up in order to host this thing and get the rights for it. It's being billed as a pay-per-view, and it looks a lot like, based on this, Yokasta Valle is going to be the co-main event to the main event. She is a fan-friendly fighter, after all. Yeah, she's got a fan-friendly style. Yokasta's an action fighter. She throws punches in bunches. Yokasta Valle, one of two minimum weight champions set to return to action next month, lest we forget. Senicia Estriada is set to be making her top-ranked debut on the undercard of Yanni Beck versus Bentley next month on the 12th. Later on in the month, Yokasta Valle is going to be returning to action against an opponent that has yet to be announced. And because it looks a lot like Yokasta's fight is going to service as the co-main event to the main event, you have to wonder that they haven't secured her a Tina Ruprecht fight. What would be a Tina Ruprecht unification match? An ideal time for Yokasta Valle to get her in the ring. Yokasta saw action 3 times last year. She's already seen action 3 times this year. This will be her 4th fight in the year of 2022, whereas Tina Ruprecht, it's been well over a year's time since Tiny Tina, reigning WBC minimum weight champion Tiny Tina, it's been well over a year since she had a fight. If Yokasta Valle is getting her in the ring in November, if she is, doesn't bode well for Tiny Tina. She'll have ring rust to shake off, whereas Yokasta, she'll be as sharp as she can be, as sharp as she's ever been. Yokasta Valle. Yokasta sports a professional record of 26 wins, 2 losses with no draws, 9 knockouts. She's actually fought Tina Ruprecht before, some years ago, and she dropped a decision to Tina. Under these circumstances, however, you might have to favor Yokasta to win the match, because Tiny Tina hasn't been very active, whereas Yokasta Valle, not only has she become increasingly more active, she's actually showing improvement under the tutelage of Coach G. There's no confirmation that Yokasta's next fight is going to be a unification match, but you kind of get the sense that it could be, because it looks like she's going to be the co-main event to the main event, the title fight between Jose Zepada and Regis Prograis. If Yokasta Valle gets Tina in the ring and she beats Senicia Estriada to the punch, gets that Tina Ruprecht fight before Senicia, well, would give Yokasta Valle some leverage in a situation between them, because Yokasta would be in possession of 3 of the 4 alphabet titles at this weight. Also set to make an appearance on that undercard is unbeaten up-and-comer from right here in the US of A, Raquel Miller. Unbeaten Raquel Miller, who sports a professional record of 12 wins, no losses, no draws with 5 knockouts. Having last seen action in September of this year in a fight that ended in a first-round TKO stoppage, was against Sheila Kunha, who is making her professional debut in what was billed as an 8-rounder. Raquel's next fight is being billed as an 8-rounder. Don't yet know who it's going to be against. Perhaps Marisela Cornejo or somebody like that. Somebody experienced. I've been saying it for years. Raquel Miller is a skilled operator, a quality operator. The problem is she hasn't been all that active the last couple of years, and she's not getting any younger. She's 37 years old, and it wouldn't be the end of the world, her being 37 years old, if she were more active. You know, kind of like what we're seeing from Canada's own amateur standout, Mary Spencer, who debuted as a professional last year. She's 37 years old, the same way that Raquel Miller's 37 years old, with the difference being that Mary Spencer's been a lot more active than Raquel in the last 12 months, the last 2 years, really. Mary debuted as a professional last year, and since having debuted, she's hit the ground running. She's fought a lot in the last 12 months, and she's already coming up on a world title shot, a world title opportunity. I think that's got a lot to do with the schedule that she's keeping. She's set to return to action yet again, having fought multiple times this year already. She's set to return to action again later on this year. She's been busy the last 12 months, whereas when it comes to Raquel, she hasn't been as active, she hasn't been as busy. She did see action earlier this year in September. This will be her second fight this year. Fight's being billed as a super middleweight contest, an 8-rounder. Super middleweight, that's where Franchon Cruz currently reigns as that division's undisputed champion. You have to interpret any step Raquel Miller takes at this point as a step in the direction of Franchon Cruz. You have to, because Franchon's got all the belts. And so long as Raquel is campaigning as a super middleweight, there are no other belts to fight for. Other belts other than Franchon's. There are no other world title fights to be had, not unless something changes. Any progress that Raquel makes in this division at this weight is a step in the direction of Franchon. I don't yet know who exactly she's going to be fighting, but we'll see. She's set to make an appearance on the undercard of Prograis versus Zepada, and so is reigning unified minimum weight champion Yo Costa Valle. Will her next fight be a unification match or a little maintenance fight, a keep busy fight? We'll see. And when it comes to the main event of that same card, the WBC super lightweight title fight between former champion Regis Prograis and former world title challenger Jose Zepada. You know, there's still an errant mystery to this thing. There is, because Marv Nation Promotions, an otherwise small, local, West Coast-based promotional outfit, an outfit that doesn't normally do multi-million-dollar shows, there's an errant mystery to how they got the money to win the rights for this thing in the first place. They're billing it as a pay-per-view, and for what it's worth, I am going to buy it. I am going to purchase the pay-per-view. I am. I think it's worth it, and I think it will be a moderately priced pay-per-view. I don't expect that they're going to charge people $80 for this thing. I don't think. Regis Prograis very recently gave his thoughts on the match, the Jose Zepada showdown, saying, it's killer versus killer. That's what it is. Southpaw versus southpaw, hard puncher versus hard puncher, killer versus killer. Adequately sums up what this fight is for the newly vacated WBC title that Josh Taylor, former undisputed super lightweight champion, very recently relinquished earlier this year. It's killer versus killer in this fight, said Prograis during an interview with BoxingScene.com. You've got two killers in the ring, two southpaws, and we both got big knockout power. Some subtle nuances aside between the fighters, they do have a few things in common. They are both southpaws, they are both hard punchers, they are both killers. I'd say Jose Zepada is the more prolific puncher of the two, the slightly busier puncher, whereas Regis Prograis, he works off the counter a little more. Rolls punches off the shoulder, looks to bring big punches over. I am leaning towards Regis Prograis to win this thing. I think he is the bigger puncher of the two, even though they're both big punchers. And I don't think he's as banged up and worn as Jose Zepada. You know, Jose had that war with Ivan Baranchyk, and he won that thing. He got the W. But after that, he took on Hank Lundy, and he just didn't look like the same guy that had that knockdown, drag-out brawl with Ivan Baranchyk the fight before. Put simply, he looked a bit shop-worn. He looked like he left something behind, left something back there in that Ivan Baranchyk fight he did. Regis Prograis said, I'm whooping Zepada. I'm whooping on him. Oh, for sure. I'm whooping Zepada. Don't get me wrong. He's explosive. He's got knockout punches. But I'm not Josue Vargas. Nowhere close. I'm not Ivan Baranchyk. I know he got knockout power and stuff like that, but I know he's never fought nobody like me before, and I think what distinguishes Ivan Baranchyk from Regis Prograis, what distinguishes Josue Vargas from Regis Prograis is that he's more experienced than Josue Vargas and he's more defensively responsible than Ivan. A bigger puncher than both. That's who's going to be opposite the ring Jose Zepada next month. Jose Zepada, who sports a professional record of 35 wins with 2 losses, no draws, 27 knockouts, having only ever been knocked out once. Just once. 27 knockouts. 27. That's saying that Jose Zepada has knocked out as many guys as Regis Prograis has won fights in the sport of boxing. Regis Prograis, who sports a professional record of 27 wins with 1 loss, just 1 loss, no draws, 23 knockouts. 23 knockouts to Jose Zepada's 27. Jose Zepada, he does have more professional bouts than Regis Prograis. He does, though. This is one of those instances to where there's more to boxing than what you see on paper. If you've seen both boys in action, you'll know Regis Prograis, at least to the eye, he's the bigger puncher. To the eye, he doesn't throw as many punches as Jose Zepada, but when he does throw and when he does land, he can really hurt a guy. They've both got power, but Regis Prograis' power would be best described as game-changing power. The kind of power that can get a lot of respect from a guy very quickly, or the kind of power that can take a guy out very quickly. And Jose Zepada, he's a tough guy, experienced guy, shared the ring with a lot of fighters, a lot of good fighters, and beat some of them. But I don't think he takes as good a punch as Regis. I've seen Jose Zepada down more than once. I've seen him hit the deck. For my money, Regis Prograis is a more defensively responsible fighter, more defensively responsible than Jose Zepada. He's a little quicker, too. He's a little faster with those hands. I think he's a bigger puncher than Jose. It's a great matchup. Promises to be fireworks for as long as it lasts, so I don't think it's going to last the distance. I don't think it's going to go to the cards. I think somebody's going to get stopped. Regis Prograis, he only saw action once last year. It was an Ivan Redcatch fight, and he saw action more recently this year, back in March. He has seen action in the last 12 months, so he's got no ring rust or cobwebs that he needs to shake off. Last 2 or 3 years or so, there have been gripes, complaints that Regis hasn't fought in a significant fight, a meaningful fight, since the Josh Taylor fight of 2019, approximately 3 years ago, maybe a little over 3 years. You believe he's only fought 3 times since the Josh Taylor fight? Jose Zepada, he's been a little bit more prolific, a little bit more active. He saw action 2 times the year the pandemic hit. He saw action 2 times in 2020. He saw action 2 times last year. It's not registered on BoxRec, but after that highlight reel knockout over Josue Vargas, Jose Zepada had another fight south of the border. He knocked that guy out as well. It's not on BoxRec, but it happened. I saw it. It might look like there's a year between Jose's last fight and his next fight, but he actually did squeeze a fight in between that time. He did. I don't know why it's not on BoxRec. Perhaps it wasn't approved. In any event, it happened, and Jose has seen more action than BoxRec lets on, than BoxRec would have you believe. Though I still favor Regis Prograis to win this thing. I do. They're the same age. They're both southpaws. The tail of the tape, they're pretty much evenly matched. Marv Nation wants to bill this as a pay-per-view, but we don't yet know who the distributor's going to be. Is it going to be Fight TV, FITE-TV? And what's the price point going to be? What's it going to cost? I don't think they charge people $80 for this thing. I mean, that'd seem steep. I'm expecting a more moderately priced price point. Something in between, I don't know, 30 and 60 bucks maybe? Somewhere in between there, but not 80. Like I said, there really is an errant mystery as to how it is a local outfit like Marv Nation got up the scratch, got up the cash to win the rights for this thing with a whopping $2.4 million bid. Where the hell they get the money? It's a legitimate question. I don't ask that question from some desire to see Marv Nation fail and see the event fall apart. Quite the opposite. I want them to succeed and I want them to be able to deliver this thing. But it does seem strange that what's otherwise a small, local, West Coast-based outfit all of a sudden comes up with that kind of scratch for this kind of fight. Maybe the less we know, the better. And finally, in men's super middleweight news, ahead of his upcoming mandated title defense with Gilberto Zerto Ramirez, Dimitri Bivol shuts down Canelo Alvarez rematch talk as he prepares to face Ramirez. You would have thought that given the financial incentive associated with the Canelo fight, Dimitri would be more than happy to fight him again. If successful, talk will instantly intensify regarding a Canelo rematch. For Bivol, he insists that he will seek the best opportunity for him that will push his career forward. He doesn't just want to be He doesn't want to be treated like a mere option for Canelo Alvarez. Treated like an opponent the way that he was ahead of their initial meeting. You know, most people, they wrote off his chances. Most people, ignorant ones, Whereas here on the channel, I told you, out of all the potential opponent options out there for Canelo, Demetrius Andre, Jermall Charlo, David Benavidez, Dimitri Bivol was the biggest potential banana skin. Not those guys. Those guys are straight up and down, straightforward, no bells and whistles. Whereas Dimitri, this guy could legitimately upset the apple cart for Canelo. I have to admit, I thought that Canelo Alvarez in the rounds might prove busy enough that maybe he can outwork Dimitri, even though I didn't think he could knock him out, and I didn't think he could put a dent in that guy. I thought maybe he can outwork him, convince the judges that he's winning the rounds on activity, and that didn't happen. Canelo gassed out, and he was outworked, outboxed by Dimitri Bivol. Dimitri Bivol, who says he wants a rematch. It's not a surprise to me because he's a champion. Of course he's going to want a rematch. Of course he's going to want to run it back. He's got his pride. Dimitri Bivol said that? No, I did, but that last bit of it, that Canelo wants a rematch. Yeah, Dimitri said that. Dimitri said it's okay for him that he wants revenge. Of course. The better way for me is to move forward. Move up. We can talk about a rematch, but it's not interesting to me like it was before. You get the sense that in order to get Dimitri Bivol in the ring this time, Dimitri Bivol and his team might drive a harder bargain because Dimitri doesn't seem interested in a rematch. He doesn't need one. Doesn't sound like he wants one. Or he's playing possum so he can get at more dollars, more money. That he himself isn't interested in a rematch. He's not the one that lost the first fight. Canelo's the one that needs recompense, and in order to run it back, well, it's going to be more expensive this time.
Because yesterday's price is not today's price.
Where have I heard that before? If he's not interested in taking on Canelo for a second time, what other options are on the table for him? Well, the winner of Better Beef versus Yard early next year almost immediately comes to mind. The undisputed light heavyweight title fight. What is Dimitri Bivol's promotional situation going to be beyond his November showdown with Zurdo Ramirez? If he even makes it past that guy. If he does, is he still going to be in bed with Matchroom? What are his options? What can Matchroom give him? Well, Matchroom can put him in there with Callum Smith. They can put him in there with Joshua Buatsi, and he can make some coin in those fights. He can make some money, but he might want to settle up with Artur Beterbiev and become this division's undisputed champion. And in order to do that, he's going to have to go to Top Rank, because I don't get the sense that Top Rank is going to send Artur to him, assuming Artur makes it past his mandatory challenger, Anthony Yard. You think Top Rank can offer Dimitri Bivol more money than Matchroom? I think that money alone, money in and of itself can't be what's motivating Dimitri, because if it were, he'd just fight Canelo Alvarez again. But he seems to be blowing off that idea, seemingly, on the face of it. So is it money he's really trying to get at? I don't know. It's either this guy doesn't care about the money, or he does care about the money, but he's pretending not to, so he can get more money. More money from Canelo to get him in the ring. Drive a harder bargain. For my money, the fight I'd rather see, if I'm being honest, is Dimitri Bivol versus the winner of Yard versus Beterbiev. Being honest, I don't know what Canelo can do differently. I don't know what he can change in a Dimitri Bivol rematch to secure the W. We've already been there, done that. Isn't it about time that the light heavyweight champions settle up with each other? If Dimitri beats Zurdo and Artur beats Anthony, what I want is for Dimitri and Artur to meet up with each other. That's what I've always wanted. It's what I still want. And if Dimitri stays with Matchroom, I'm not sure that happens. Bob doesn't want to send Artur over there. Maybe Dimitri's got to go to them.